So you thought you were smiling at someone you love. In fact, you were pulling the trigger. See you in jail, miscreant. Harsh words, but then science itself is harsh. Science has no regard for sentiment or public opinion. Science doesn't care about your feelings. Science is about facts, data, truth, measurable outcomes. So what is the science on masks? Well, as it happened, we have the latest for you tonight. And the science comes, interestingly, from the CDC, whose director just told you that masks were magic, more effective than vaccines. But the numbers from the CDC suggest otherwise. A new study conducted by 11 medical institutions analyzed a group of people who tested positive for COVID during the month of July. Here's the interesting part. Among those who were infected, more than 70% reported that they had, quote, always worn a mask for the preceding 14 days. Another 14.4% said they had, quote, often worn a mask. In other words, almost everyone, 85%, who got the coronavirus in July was wearing a mask, and they were infected anyway. So clearly this doesn't work the way they tell us it works. Clearly someone's been lying to us, many people actually. How did this happen? Well, the short answer is we're not sure how so many people got the coronavirus while wearing masks. But there are clues that our leaders appear to be ignoring. Here's one. According to a study published in April by researchers at several medical institutions, including the Cleveland Clinic, surgical masks are actually ineffective at stopping the inhalation of small airborne particles. Instead, the researchers found that surgical masks, which almost everyone is using to protect themselves from the coronavirus and not murder other people, are actually only useful from protecting users from, quote, large droplets and sprays. That's not how the coronavirus spreads. According to a letter signed by several researchers earlier this month in Science magazine, the biggest threat from the coronavirus, quote, by far, is when it's contained in small particles that can easily bypass face masks in aerosol form. Droplets quickly fall to the ground, but aerosol lingers. The researchers wrote that the tiny particles can remain in the air, quote, for many seconds to hours like smoke and be inhaled. The particles are, quote, highly concentrated near an infected person, but aerosols containing infectious viruses can also travel more than 6 feet and accumulate in poorly ventilated indoor air, leading to super-spreading events. So if you've been wearing a mask at the table in between bites, this might come as a surprise to you. It's not what they told you. You should also know that consensus changes. They never admit it, but it does. Science changes as we learn more. It was only a few weeks ago that the same people yelling at you now for not wearing a mask were scolding you for considering buying a mask. February 29th, Jerome Adams, he's the U.S. Surgeon General, tweeted this, quote, seriously, people, stop buying masks. They are not effective in preventing the general public from catching the coronavirus. Now, at one point, we mocked him for saying that because that seemed absurd to us. If masks aren't effective, then why do surgeons wear them? But it turns out maybe he was onto something. On March 8th, Anthony Fauci told us, once again, masks are pointless.
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
These people are so awful. All of us are learning about this on the fly. It was a new disease. There are a lot of things we didn't know. But to pretend that you are speaking God's word and rearrange our society on the basis of that, and never acknowledge that you were completely wrong, that your assumptions were false. That's the definition of dishonesty, and it's also the hallmark of the people who lead us. They know nothing.